This ragtag bunch of little rascals, this feel-good story, this cute little spunky team is no longer cute and spunky because they just swept the best team in baseball.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a crippling addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering the team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about your Texas Rangers sweeping the best team in baseball, something nobody's done since the very beginning of this season. We're going to talk about Jake Burger's incredible day, why I absolutely love watching Merrill Kelly work, and of course, it's the end of the season, so we're going to be doing a little bit of scoreboard watching. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Now, the Rangers do it again. The comeback kids, despite being down 2-0, just 2 batters in, this Texas Rangers scrappy little rascal Rangers team said, hey, what if we just come back and sweep the best team in baseball? That's exactly what these guys did, something that has not happened since the very first series of the year. Now, the Brewers haven't been the best team in baseball all year. We all pretty much thought that was a slam dunk answer of, oh, it's the Dodgers that spent $1 billion after winning a World Series and brought in all these new guys that surely were going to make them run away with, not just 100, not just winning the division, not just 100 wins, 110, 120, 150, 162 and 0. That's totally on the table. The last time that we had discourse, or the last time that we had a sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers, it led to a discourse about torpedo bats because the Yankees hit so many home runs off of Nestor Cortez that we're like, oh, are the bats corked? Is this illegal? And then since April, we have not talked about torpedo bats at all. That's how long it's been. Gosh, the torpedo bat discourse feels like 18 billion years ago. But it has been a long time since that, and a long time since anybody has swept the Brewers. Heck, there haven't been a lot of series where the Brewers have even gotten beaten, let alone swept. And when the Brewers head to this final game with their ace on the hill, Freddie Peralta, who was riding a, I believe, 29-inning scoreless streak heading into this one, he had only allowed a combined 2 runs in his previous 7 starts heading into this one. He made that scoreless inning streak go all the way up to 30 before he faced the bat of Jake Burger. And the Rangers were already down in this one. I was able to go to the game. Shout out Gametime for great deal on tickets going to the game with my dad, who got me this really lovely new Rangers hat. And we weren't even to our seats. We were ironically getting a couple of burgers before we got to our seats when the Rangers, or before Jake Burger got there. Thankfully, we were able to see the Burger home run in person. But those first 2, we were just barely in the stadium. And then, boom, Bryce Terang homer. Boom, Jackson Churio homer. Oh, my gosh. Well, we sure picked a game to go to, and it was absolutely incredible. It's also, honestly, kind of the best of both worlds for me as a Bryce Terang truther, because Bryce Terang spells the name Bryce correctly, like I do, with an I. He's not one of those heretics out there spelling it with a Y, like Mr. Harper out there in Philadelphia, or Lord forbid, the former Brewers pitcher, Bryce, whose name I've already forgotten, his last name, because he spelled his first name, Bryce Wilson, excuse me, former first-round draft pick of Atlanta, who spells his name Bryse, an abomination to all of mankind. But the Rangers did not care that they were down 2-0. Merrill Kelly did not care that he was down 2-0 because the Rangers had themselves an afternoon game, and like everybody else has been saying, they had themselves a couple of smash burgers, a 2-homer day for Jake Burger. The most impressive thing, the most un-Burger-like thing, actually, was Jake Burger also working a walk, just his 12th walk of the year. This man does not walk at all. All he does is mash baseballs, and he has been doing that to an insane degree in the second half. Now, he's missed a lot of time in this second half. He's only played in 17 games since the All-Star break. Heck, he's only started in 12 of those games, 53 plate appearances in that time span. This man has 5 home runs in 53 plate appearances. That's a homer. Basically, 1 out of every 10 plate appearances is a homer for Jake Burger. And he's also hitting .347 with an on-base of .396 because he has worked 4 of those 12 walks on the season in these 17 games. And he's slugging .714. Let me say that again. He is slugging .714. That is an 11-11 OPS. Make a wish. I wish Jake Burger was on my team. Oh, that wish already came true because this man has been raking in this second half. It's kind of insane that he wasn't starting all these games, a lot of platoons with Rowdy Tellez. I think those days are very much over. We are going to see a lot of Jake Burger between now and the end of the season. And you want to look at September so far this month. 8 games for him, 4 home runs in this month, 8 RBIs, and 11-19 OPS. You look at August, I mean, he was hitting .420. He had a lot more hits in the month of August and more home runs in this month. I mean, the guy has just been mashing, and these are 2 huge homers. I mean, he drives in 3 runs. He scores 3 runs. He scored 2 of those runs of driving himself, and then he also worked a walk in this one where he would end up coming around to score. And this was just a big, big game for Jake Burger, who the Rangers desperately need. I mean, you go and you look at his baseball savant page, and there's a lot of blue at the bottom. The strikeouts, the chase, the swing and miss, the walk percentage, it's not great. They also don't love his fielding, which I disagree with. I think Jake Burger is a fantastic fielder, as we saw in the final play of this game, him grabbing a very soft line drive that could have so easily fallen in for a hit in the final batter of this game that Phil Maton was able to retire. But I mean, his bat speed, I mean, his hard hit percentage, his expected slugging percentage, which is about 60 points higher than his actual slugging percentage. I mean, his actual slugging percentage is pretty solid at .449. He's got 16 home runs now on the season, might end up getting to that 20 homer plateau. I didn't think that anybody on this team was going to make it to the 20 homer plateau besides Corey Seager and Wyatt Langford, who have already done it. Maybe Adolis Garcia comes back and he's only 2 away. So maybe Adolis Garcia ends up getting to that 20 homer plateau. But Jake Burger, have yourself a freaking day. It wasn't just him offensively. Alejandro Osuna reaching base a couple of times. Cody Freeman reaching base on a hit. Rowdy Tellez driving in a run in a pinch hit ground out situation. And the Rangers getting the go-ahead run in this one, in that 2-run third inning, on a go-ahead balk that was called out by Jock Peterson. The only reason that it was allowed to happen is because Jock Peterson reached base on what looked like just such an easy routine ground ball double play. But Jock Peterson gets on his horse, big boy, hustling out what ends up being just a fielder's choice. Freddie Peralta balks maybe twice. It could have been called twice. And Jock Peterson says, nope, I saw that. A go-ahead balk. I mean, seeing a go-ahead balk in person, just, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. This whole game. I mean, I headed into this game feeling like this game's gravy. This game is absolutely just gravy. I mean, the Rangers have already won a series against the toughest team in baseball, the best team in baseball. You got Merrill Kelly out there on the hill, so you feel good about your chances, but you're going up against Freddie Peralta, who is a fantastic pitcher, and the Rangers dropped 5 runs on him, and they run his pitch count all the way up to 113. I could not believe that Freddie Peralta was still out there after giving up that second homer to Jake Burger. He was at, I believe, like 96 pitches at that point. You think, okay, well, he's already given up his second homer of the game to the same guy. Maybe we go ahead and pull him in this one. He upped his ERA from 250 to 269 in this one because the Rangers were able to score across 5 runners in this one, and they weren't even getting that many hits. They were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position, but they were able to do the little things like, Jock Peterson's speed freaking out Freddie Peralta into balking. Maybe that's not what it was. Maybe it was just Freddie Peralta being in his own head, but they were able to, get a run home when they had the bases loaded and 1 out with Rowdy Tellez pinch hitting there. I maybe would have rather seen Zeke Duran in that situation, but hey, Rowdy Tellez gets the job done. We'll see how many more of these pinch hitting appearances that we'll get for Rowdy Tellez. He's just been in kind of a skid at this point. And with both Jock Peterson and Jake Berger on heaters. I don't know how much we will end up seeing Rowdy Tellez down the stretch, but he did his job in this one. Michael Helman reaching base and scoring a run in this one. And heck, I gotta give love to Josh Smith, who I've been pretty critical of. I mean, he has one of the worst second half OPSs in all of baseball, but this is a great game for him. And Bruce Bochy, I guess, knows and has confidence in him. Like, hey, this is my leadoff guy. I know what he can do when he's right. And maybe he's about to break out into a skid where he starts getting right, reaches base twice, including once ahead of Jake Berger for that homer, making it a 2-run homer. Also reaches base later on with a walk where he ends up scoring the Rangers, able to get a run home later on in this game to get that insurance run, to give themselves just that much more of a cushion, a 3-run cushion heading into that 9th inning where I thought we might see a 6th-out save from Sean Armstrong. We didn't, but we did see a very strong pitching performance from Merrill Kelly and from everyone in this bullpen. Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power you through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. You can also use this if you need a late night boost. You're trying to stay up and scoreboard watch on some West Coast games. This is a perfect thing for your energy game. Golf is all about good times with good friends and good people. Good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without ever leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy Snap and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes Master Tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. This show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here and ready to make sure you're ready for kickoff and a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. They've got all kinds of different odds on World Series champions. They've got odds on football. They've got odds on baseball. They've got odds on the division. Right now, Rangers at plus 1,000 to win the AL West. Astros favorite at minus 120. Mariners at plus 115. Rangers just 2.5 games back in this AL West chase. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back and previewing this series against the New York Mets and Jacob deGrom's first start back at Citi Field since leaving those New York Metropolitans and becoming a World Series champion with the 2023 Texas Rangers. Now, this was a great game pitched, not by Jacob deGrom, but we'll hopefully see a great game pitched on Friday for Jacob deGrom. And what I'm really hoping for that Friday game is that we see a continuation of a trend that we saw a lot of when Jacob deGrom was in New York, of Jacob deGrom pitching brilliantly, beautifully, incredibly, and the Mets not scoring a lot of runs. I'm hoping that trend continues, except it'll be him on the other side. I'm not hoping that the trend of his own team not giving him run support continues, because we've had some problems with that here, and he definitely had a lot of problems with the Mets. But with Jacob deGrom on the hill, I'd imagine we are not going to see a lot of runs for those New York Mets, who are riding a 3-game losing streak, at least at this point. I think it might be 4, and they might end up being mopped in Philadelphia against those Phillies. But this was not Jacob deGrom Day. This was Merrill Kelly Day. And despite being down 2-0 to the first batters he faced, with a couple of homers after he went up 0-2 on both those hitters. That's the other thing that was deeply frustrating. And we've seen a lot from this Rangers squad of giving up 0-2 homers. And the reason that happens, the reason the Rangers have given up more 0-2 homers, 0 balls, 2 strike homers, and then anybody else in baseball, is because, well, when you do that, it's usually because you don't have the best stuff. And Merrill Kelly, despite being an incredible pitcher, I really do love watching Merrill Kelly pitch. He doesn't have the best stuff. He is just a pitcher, a doctor, a surgeon, if you will, slicing and dicing up with precision and accuracy in all of his pitches and his pitch sequencing, and also has a little bit of that Nathan Eovaldi-ism. Eovaldi's got a little bit more what I would call better raw stuff. But I mean, Merrill Kelly's got, I believe, 117 different types of pitches. I mean, he's got 3 different types of fastballs that he uses pretty frequently. He's also got a curveball. He's also got a slider. He's also got a changeup. He's got sinker, cutter, four-seam fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. I mean, it's a lot of pitches coming at you in a lot of different ways. And when you throw an 0-2 pitch right over the middle of the plate, that's going to be smacked, especially when they're as good a hitter as Bryce Terang. He goes up 0-2 on Jackson Chourio, isn't able to put him away, throws a couple of balls, and then throws a changeup. That's not a bad pitch that Jackson Chourio just mashes. And then Christian Yelich, who had a really bad day. After this one, he hit a ball 110.8 miles per hour, 403 feet. And thankfully, Michael Helman, the Mayo man, steps up in a huge way, a 970 expected batting average on that line out for Christian Yelich. And then he proceeded to strike out the final 3 plate appearances of his day. So Merrill Kelly goes down 2-0. And just like the rest of this offense says, all right, I don't need to panic. I do not need to panic. These guys have got me. These bats have been hot. And I don't care that I'm up against Freddie Peralta. These bats don't care that they're up against Freddie Peralta, one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. They say, no, it does not matter. I'm just going to lock in and keep throwing strikes. Now, that's one of the best things about Merrill Kelly is that this man, despite that one game, I believe it was the second start with the Rangers where he had a season high 5 walks. This man does not walk people. He didn't walk anybody in this one. Goes 5 2/3, allows 10 hits, strikes out 6, and gives up just 3 runs. But he attacks hitters. He goes at hitters. He gets ahead early in counts, gets hitters just off kilter. They're already on the defensive because he's already up 0-2 pretty quickly into counts. Early on in this, or late on in this game, he was up to 96% first pitch strike percentage. 96%. I believe he finished the day at 91% because he fell behind to the final 2 batters that he faced, including Rhys Hoskins, who drove in that final run after being up 3-0 in the count. Merrill Kelly just was not trusting his stuff and throwing strikes. And this guy just did not get rattled. He worked around a lot of traffic. He pitches kind of similarly to a lot of these Seattle Mariners pitchers in that the Mariners pitchers, at least the big 3, the homegrown guys like Logan Gilbert and also Jose Castillo or who am I thinking? Luis Castillo. Goodness gracious. I am all in my head today. But when you pitch a lot in the strike zone, the worst case scenario for that is that you give up a lot of hits. That's the counter side. I mean, you need to be in the strike zone. You need to be throwing quality pitches in the strike zone. But if you're walking guys, you're going to get your pitch count way, way up. You're not going to be able to pitch as deep into games. If you're throwing more strikes, you're getting more weak contact, or even some singles and occasionally some solo homers, which he said, sometimes you're going to give up some solo homers. The solo homers aren't going to beat us. The 2 3-run homers that you give up because you walked 2 guys ahead of them, those will beat you. But a couple of solo shots here and there will not beat you. And Merrill Kelly worked so aggressively in this one. I mean, 93 pitches in this one. He went 5 2/3, and he nearly made it through that 6th inning. But because he was getting behind himself, that is what drove him from this game. And shout out to Hobie Milner, another performance where he steps up back-to-back games, comes into a spot where the starters work himself into a jam, and he works a really, really nice play against Bryce Terang, a ball that was hit just right to him. Just, oh, look what I found. Look what I found. It's the ball. You're out. Boom. Done. Situation remedied. Danger averted, crisis averted. Merrill Kelly is able to finish the day despite giving up those 10 hits, where the Rangers allowed 11 hits. They only had 6 hits themselves, scoring 6 runs. They also worked 5 walks, where the Rangers pitchers only walked 1 person. And they also struck out 10 in this one, including Christian Yelich 3 times. But this was a phenomenal pitching performance, not just from Merrill Kelly. This is why you get this guy. This is why you get this guy. It would have been so easy for this game to be lost by the Rangers. It would have been so easy for any other pitcher to say, oh, well, I just gave up 2 runs to the best team in baseball, and I'm up against their best starting pitcher who hasn't allowed a run in 29 innings. This one's probably over for me. Merrill Kelly said, nah, I got this. I got this, guys. Calm down. It's fine. We've got this. And you know what? He was absolutely right. And the bullpen behind him said, nope, calm down. It's fine. We've got this. Pitching on back-to-back days. I mean, I believe it was not quite everybody in this one. I think Phil Maton hadn't pitched in maybe a couple days. Maybe he hadn't pitched since Monday, but Sean Armstrong going 4 outs in this one might have finished off the whole two inning save in this one had he not walked a batter. But I mean, Sean Armstrong has been just phenomenal this season. Robert Garcia coming in, him working a scoreless inning, getting a strikeout, and Phil Maton coming in, striking out the first batter he faces, and then the second batter he faced pops out, flies out, lines out, whatever kind of ball that actually end up being scored or ruled. He gets him out, and he gets his 4th save of the season. The Rangers end up making it a sweep in this one, 4 straight wins, and for the first time all year, they are 7 games over 500. This team is in a phenomenal place, not just settling for that series win against the best team in baseball, but they went for the throat and they said, no, we are getting every single win we can from here on out, and we are not going to be denied October. But the 2 teams ahead of them have something else to say about it. Some good series elsewhere in this AL West. After this, we're going to talk about what's going on in this AL West and how much of a chance do these scrappy little never say die Texas Rangers actually have. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This supplement is clinically tested that targets the root cause of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. I started noticing less shedding and a healthier looking hair after using Nutrafol. They've got so many peer-backed review studies that is just so much different than everything else out there. You can feel good about it knowing Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Manager first listen every single day. After every single game, Jeff Biggs is with you with a Locked On Rangers postcast reacting live to all 15 games that are left in this regular season and maybe, just maybe, some postseason games as well. That'll be in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Now, this scrappy little never say die, cutesy, feel-good story little Texas Rangers team just swept the best team in baseball. They have won 4 straight games, 2 straight series against teams that are leading their division. And ever since that road trip from heck, ever since the day that the Rangers lost both Marcus Semien and Evan Carter, Evan Carter at least for the season, possibly Marcus Semien for the season, they are 15-4 since then. 15-4. They have been on fire, and they have got, 15 games left. Would it be nice for them to finish with a 15-game winning streak? Yeah, that'd be awesome. I don't know if that's going to happen at all. It's probably not going to happen, but it's definitely possible. I mean, this Mets team has been abjectly pretty terrible for the last 2 months of this season. They're coming off of a series where they've lost the first 3 games of this series, but since June 13th, this is a tweet from SMY, putting up the worst records in MLB since June 13th. And I don't know why they picked that date, probably because it makes the Mets look bad, because this is the whole point of this is to make the Mets look bad. The Mets are 31-45. They have the 4th worst record in baseball since that point. They are worse than the White Sox by 1 whole game. The only teams that are worse than them in that span are the Nationals, the Twins, and the Rockies, who are all pretty horrible. So this is setting up kind of well for this Texas Rangers squad. Then they'll have 3 on the road against Houston, and then a 6-game home series against the Marlins and the Twins, who are both not very good. Marlins are scrappier and maybe have more life in them, but the Twins are downright horrible. And then they'll have 3 games in Cleveland to finish off this regular season against the Guardians. 15 games left. That's it. That's it. It's only 15 games left, and this Rangers squad is in a good spot. They are 2.5 back in the AL West chase. They are 1.5 games back, I believe, in this in this wild card chase. They're 2.5 games back in the West, 1.5 in the wild card spot, but they do not have the tiebreaker against the Mariners, and they are 4 back of both the top and the second wild card spot after the Yankees lost and the Red Sox lost yesterday. Yankees got blown out by the Tigers, and the Red Sox got walked off. Aroldis Chapman got walked off by those no longer in Oakland, West Sacramento A's. So this Rangers squad is fighting for their lives. They do not have the tiebreaker against the Yankees. So they do have the tiebreaker against the Boston Red Sox. They don't have it against the Mariners. So what that effectively means is you're really watching and you're hoping that the Yankees and Mariners lose a whole lot of games, because the Rangers want to have a better record than them because they do not have the tiebreaker. So they need to gain more games against them than they do against either the Red Sox or the Astros. The Rangers are 1.5 games back of the Mariners. They're 2.5 back of the Astros. But basically that number's the same, because the Rangers, unless they get swept by the Astros, they will have the season tiebreaker. And so you're kind of rooting for Houston. I hate you're more okay with Houston winning next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend, in what will be the biggest series left at that point for the AL West chase. The Rangers have 3 against Houston in Houston next week on Monday, and then Houston plays 3 games against the Mariners that weekend. That will be games that I would be watching closely would I not be blacked out by MLB streaming, unfortunately. But I will be following as closely as I can on that Game Day app on my phone. This is just such a tight race, and this Rangers squad, they have, I've probably said it a million times, a significantly better run differential than both the Blue Jays, or they do have a better run differential than the Blue Jays, but better run differential than the Astros, better run differential than the Mariners. Like, they have just been a significantly better team. Heck, the Guardians, who are now 2 games behind the Rangers in that chase, they are falling quickly out of it, as are the Royals, who are 2.5 games behind the Rangers, who the Rangers don't have the tiebreaker against. They both have negative run differentials, and it is just, this team is better. They are better, I think, than the Houston Astros, who have been exposed this year a bit. It's taken their toll. Winning takes its toll, not only just these deep postseason runs, but the attrition of losing guys like Carlos Correa, who let walk out the door for nothing. Guys like George Springer, who you let walk out the door for nothing. Carlos Correa, who you had to trade assets away to bring back in on a big contract with a whole lot of injury issues that may or may not present themselves in the next couple of years, like that issue with his foot, which is the reason why he backed out of a deal, or why the Giants backed out of a deal with Carlos Correa. I mean, even Alex Bregman and probably Framber Valdez is out the door this year, which I think his catcher, who he may or may not have accidentally beamed in the chest, is going to feel fine about Framber walking out that door. But the Astros are vulnerable. They've had a lot of injuries, including another one to Luis Garcia. You hate to see this for any player getting injured. I don't want any Astros players injured. I want them to come back. I want them to be bad, because they are bad. I do not want anybody to be injured. And it really breaks my heart for Luis Garcia, who missed basically 2 full years with Tommy John surgery. He came back, he pitched a couple of games, and he looked pretty good. But then on Tuesday's game, he left that game early with elbow soreness after fighting back, coming back 2 years with Tommy John surgery. That is just a brutal loss if he ends up going on the IL. If it is, worst case scenario, either a failed recovery from Tommy John, or, Lord forbid, a second snapped UCL. That is not at all what you want to see. Seattle just swept the St. Louis Cardinals. They had to go to extra innings to do it last night. Thomas Saggese tried his best to provide some heroics. He had a couple of, I believe, go-ahead, at least RBI singles in that series. Former Rangers prospect Thomas Saggese, who they traded for Jordan Montgomery. flags fly forever. Shout out to Tom Sajacy. Hope you are doing well out there in Kansas City. Or not Kansas City, St. Louis, those Missouri City. They're all blurred together in my head. But the Mariners just took 3 out of 3. They have been riding a 5-game winning streak at this point, despite falling into the gutter, getting swept by the Rays and just looking terrible at a 20-game stretch where they were 5-15. Now they are kind of coming out of it. They've got 4 games this weekend against the Angels. I believe that is still in Seattle. So Angels, hey Angels, you want to do something fun? You want to do something real fun? They're riding a 2-game winning streak. They've got some hot bats, and they've got some pitchers who can occasionally do some things. At least go take 2. Maybe take 3 games in Seattle. That would be incredibly fun to watch these scrappy little Angels just ruin the season of the Seattle Mariners, who have time and time again, we've seen the last several years just trip on their own shoes and feet. And the fact that they're even in this position, the fact that they haven't buried the Rangers, who have not had a great season. They're 7 games above 500 for the first time all year. Rangers haven't been 7 games below 500 or above 500 until today, after sweeping these Milwaukee Brewers. And the Mariners had such a high lead. They had such a big lead in the AL West that they let the Astros run them down and catch them. And while the Astros have been tripping over their shoes as well, I mean, the Astros are 4-6 in their last 10. They're 4-7 in their last 11. And the Mariners could have run away with this division by now. They have all the talent in the world to do so. And I'm very surprised that they didn't. Or maybe I'm not, because that's just kind of what it's been like. But this is definitely a team that the Rangers can catch. And I really hope my ideal situation is that the Rangers fight their way to win the AL West and that there are no other AL West teams in the postseason, because I don't want to deal with the stress of playing the Houston Astros in a postseason series again. I've done that once. I swear it nearly killed me. I'd be fine with the Rangers playing the Mariners, because if they lose the Mariners, I don't know that many annoying Mariners fans that are going to let me have it for years and years and years to come. That is not the case with those stinking Houston Astros there. But the Rangers have not played the Mariners well. And the way it stacks up is, unless the Rangers go on some crazy run, either the Blue Jays or the Tigers just fall off a cliff, the Rangers are not going to end up with a bye in the first round. So even if they win the AL West, they will be playing whoever is in that third wild card spot. Because right now it stacks up that first wild card game between the top 2 wild card teams. It's going to be Yankees, Red Sox at this point, which would be just delicious as a neutral. And then the other series right now is slated to be Astros, Mariners. So even if the Astros fall out of the postseason picture, which I'm really hoping they do, that would be just delightful, and say the Mariners end up winning the AL West and the Rangers get that third wildcard spot, then it's the Rangers playing 3 games in Seattle to keep their postseason hopes alive, which I don't know if you've watched any of the games in Seattle this year. They have not gone particularly well for this Rangers team for the last, it feels like forever, that the Rangers have always played really terribly in Seattle. But hey, if the Rangers make this postseason, we saw how good they were feeling about their vibes heading into that 3-game series in Tampa Bay in 2023 after losing the final day of the season against the Seattle Mariners to lose the AL West and then have to play in that wild card series. And what do they do but go on a run and win the World Series? If this Rangers team gets there and they start getting healthier, they start not having to rely on these little rascals who are scrappy, but maybe not quite as hyper-talented players as, the multi-million-dollar, multi-time All-Star, multi-time World Series MVP winner in Corey Seager, and the ALCS winner and multi-time Gold Glover, multi-time All-Star player in Adolis Garcia, and the multi-time All-Star and World Series champion in Marcus Semien. If they get in there and start getting these reinforcements back and keep that scrappy underdog mentality that these young little rascals have instilled in them that allowed them to sweep the Milwaukee Brewers, this team is about to be a problem. And for the first time this season, it's not for the Texas Rangers fans. It's for everybody else in this league. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy Texas Rangers Playoff Chase Baseball.